Memorial Day weekend is famously the most important of them all in American motorsport. The world-renowned Indianapolis 500 is preceded in the days leading up to it by a score of smaller races all up and down the state of Indiana. And if you cross over the state line to the north, you will find even more racing still. Today, the Michigan International Speedway plays host to a race made up of drivers, teams, and cars that you would normally only see at the short tracks and dirt ovals that dot the Midwest. And we are looking forward to bringing you the action once again through our highlight coverage of the American short trackers Voltson Super Trucks. Enrichment TV2 welcomes you to the Irish Hills of southern Michigan and to the Michigan International Speedway. The ASCC All-American cars have just returned to the garages after their latest practice session for the upcoming US 500. And while their crews get to work for tomorrow's big show, the racetrack gets handed over to the AST Voltson Super Trucks. 32 drivers are ready to go and set to battle it out for 100 miles in their V6 racing trucks to kick off the 2021 season of this regional tour. This race has served as the first round on the calendar every year since 2014 when the championship was first contested, and with a relatively generous purse and healthy field sizes to match, it has always delivered plenty of action for the fans to enjoy. Most of the names on the grid here today belong to the homegrown superstars of the Saturday night short track scene in this part of the country, all of whom are accustomed to racing at tracks no more than a quarter the size of the one we are at today. The wide, fast, and foot-to-the-floor nature of this 2-mile superspeedway at MIS is something that a lot of the young racers here today have never experienced before, and we are very excited to see how they will all respond to the challenge. We are nearly ready for the start here now, and as the trucks prepare to roll onto the track, we're going to take you through the starting lineup. Starting shotgun on the field are Bill Brennan in truck number 50 and Dale Clow in truck 00. Clow, the longtime FARC Truck Series racer and team owner from Seymour, Indiana. Brianna Princehorn and Zach Churchill qualified in 25th and 28th respectively, a little further down the order than we were expecting from the two of them, considering that Princehorn is the defending winner of this race. Kevin Fitzroy put this truck together with his friends on a shoestring budget. The Street Stocks racer from the Onaway Speedway made a great effort to get that truck 24th after qualifying. Daryl Quick starts from the 19th position, returning to this race once more for his only event of the Super Truck season. The Lester Racing truck of Andy Piper is going to start 14th, with Ron Anderson. Speaking of drivers who don't show up in the series that often, Anderson hardly races cars that often, and he's put another strong qualifying effort together this year, going to roll off from the outside of row 6. Brian Kelly, the 2017 series champion, will start from the 8th position, and the other Lester Racing truck of Alex Robbins is right in front of him in 6th. Caitlin Holt puts the car in the top 5 for the first qualifying effort of her Super Trucks career. This is the first time we've seen the Holt name at the Speedway in 7 years. Danny Vigo in the cell phone to truck number 8 will start from the outside of row 2, and Amberly Weiss and Danny Richards Jr. both made valiant and last-minute efforts at the back end of this morning's qualifying session to take the pole position, but in spite of their speed, both drivers came up just short of the time set by Jason Miller. The Terre Haute Action Track racer has not scored a pole position in this series since 2015, which happens to be the same year in which he won this very race. Today he's looking to do so for the second time. As the trucks complete their final pace lap before the green flag, we are finally ready to get this race underway. The pace truck prepares to pull into the pit lane and leave the field in the hands of Jason Miller and Danny Richards Jr. We have an entire summer's worth of action waiting ahead of us, and it all starts right here and right now. The green flag is in the air, and we are racing at Michigan International Speedway. Jason Miller gets an excellent start off the line and leads the field into turn number 1, well clear of Danny Richards Jr. by the time he gets there. As Richards Jr. gets a push from Danny Vigo and tries to keep himself ahead of Amberly Weiss, who started second on the inside, as the field already beginning to fan out, 2 and even 3 wide as they head down the backstretch and into turn number 3. Finally approaching full speed, Caitlin Holt is going to make a move to the inside of Weiss to try and make it 3 wide, but backs out of it on corner entry. Not confident in the grip underneath those cold tires on the 83 car, and you saw Dan Louison right behind her, back way out of the throttle, checking up big time and causing a bit of a stack up behind him. Several cars bunch up and go 4 wide now down the front straightaway at the beginning of lap 2. Daryl Quick, Alex DeFranco, and Sarah Morsaw are all in the middle, and nobody is backing down going into turn number 1. And everyone makes it out through the other side cleanly, it looks like. Quick gained a few positions at least in that ordeal, as everyone continues on without a scratch. The racing surface here at MIS, as you can see, is plenty wide for 4 wide racing, but the groove in the corners where the grip has been found by these trucks and their tires has been a lot narrower. Back at the front of the field, Danny Vigo has gotten around Danny Richards Jr. to move himself up into the second position after starting from the outside of row 2, and just moments later he goes to the inside of Jason Miller into turn number 3, trying to take the lead of the race. Vigo, as we have mentioned leading up to this event, has not been able to find much success since leaving Operation JM, the team whose owner he is passing right now, to begin his own family-run operation, but he has brought a truck with a lot of speed here to MIS this weekend, and he has already brought it to the front. As the field continues on under green, we don't have a caution out on the speedway, and the reason I mention that is because this happened just moments earlier. Brianna Prinzhorn gets spun to the inside down the back straightaway by Darren Gale in the 23 car after they get into a bit of a shoving match with each other. Fortunately for Prinzhorn, no damage has been done to that truck. She only made very light contact with the inside wall, and while she is now very far behind the rest of the field, she will be able to continue on. Back at the front, the top 4 slowly begin to pull away from the rest of the field, and the remaining drivers in this lead pack are led by Alex Robbins in the 26, but he appears to be facing some serious challenges from Robert Embry in the middle and Brian Kelly on the inside, but it all goes wrong in turn 2 as Kelly and Robbins go hard on the outside wall. And they're not the only ones who are going to get caught up in this. Several trucks on the inside are left with nowhere to go, and this has turned into a multi-car accident in a hurry. The caution is out for the first time on only the 4th lap of the race. Taking another look at what happened here, and that was a nasty hit, especially for Brian Kelly, who got hooked hard to the right and into the wall, taking Robbins with him. And that's going to involve several innocent bystanders as well, including Louison, Nicole Karski, Sarah Morsaw, Daniela Jacobson, Alex DeFranco, and Zach Churchill. I think Kiara Thomas got a piece of that too. This is a massive shame for everyone involved, especially Alex Robbins, who gets hit trying to get away from the accident by Darren Gale and spun around again to add insult to injury. This accident's going to take 7 of the 32 starters out of the race, and we have only just gotten underway, so that's a big shame for everyone who's done for the day already. But just ahead of this accident, as it was occurring, the battle for third goes awry as Amberly Weiss and Danny Richards Jr. get together, and the 70 truck goes into the wall. That team will get the truck repaired under yellow, but Richards Jr. is going to restart at the back. On the restart, Danny Vigo continues to lead over Jason Miller, Amberly Weiss, and Wilson Timothy in 4th, with Robert Embry having barely escaped disaster, still running in 5th. It's an amazing start to this race for the debutante racer from nearby in Lansing, and as a matter of fact, there are a number of first-time racers all up in the top 10 here with him. Caitlin Holt is running in 7th right behind Ron Anderson, and she is followed closely by Andy Piper in the 13 and Matt Jacobs in the 47. In addition to these rookies, this pack also includes the 82 of Daryl Quick, who has won this race twice in the past, and Ron Anderson in the 333, who has won the pole position here once before. Anderson sweeps around Amberly Weiss and Robert Embry shortly after catching up to them and moves himself up into the 4th position, leaving Weiss and Embry to continue to fight amongst one another for the 5th spot, but Weiss pushing Embry a little too high, and they're both going to go into the wall off at turn number 2. Weiss goes spinning down the back straightaway, and that's the second caution of the day. Caitlin Holt, who was running right behind these drivers, got caught up in it as well, and all 3 of the trucks involved are going to be a fair bit off the pace as a result of the damage that they've sustained. And after such a strong start to the race, that is a major disappointment for all 3 of them. Vigo and Miller lead once more on the restart, with Miller in hot pursuit of the 8 truck, but thus far having been unable to make a move to take back the lead, and Wilson Timothy runs right behind them in 3rd. Timothy, having started the race from the lower end of the field after a poor run in qualifying, has not taken all that long to get himself all the way up into third place, trying to chase down Jason Miller and Danny Vigo to make it a 3-truck race for the lead. Right behind them, Andy Piper and Daryl Quick occupy the remaining positions in the top 5, with Ron Anderson still running right with them. Both Quick and Anderson appear to be a little bit faster than Piper is at the moment, as they are putting all sorts of pressure on him to get around the 13 truck. But Piper, playing defense pretty well and holding on strong for someone who has never competed on a speedway in his life. The young competitor from the Berlin Raceway. We got another crash in the midfield, though. There's Pedro Menares getting turned sideways and sent spinning to the infield. Let's take a look at what happened to spark that accident. Danny Richards Jr. trying to get his way back to the front of the field after being sent to the back, and he's going to try and force his way into the middle of a 3-wide battle that wasn't there, and turns the 21 car around. Legend Hart got caught up in that as well, and got very lucky to escape with minimal damage and without spinning himself. But the caution will not come out for this, and Menares, much like Prinzhorn earlier, is now sent way behind with no yellow to help him catch up. Speaking of Brianna Prinzhorn, by the way, that incident is going to move truck number 7 back into the top 10. Prinzhorn has been slowly recovering from that spin on lap 3, and she is currently battling for that 10th position with Flip Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos, the Dale Clow Racing competitor, is punching well above his weight so far here today. That truck did not have a lot of speed in it during qualifying, but he has kept its nose clean during the race and is being rewarded for it. Meanwhile, right behind them, Danny Richards Jr. is still trying to work his way back towards the front, is still not willing to yield to other drivers in the process, and this time it's not going to work out for him as he goes into the wall and nearly rolls the truck over off of turn number 2. Having stuffed the one truck of poor Roland Waters in the fence off the corner, that's going to inflict a lot more damage upon the 70 truck that he did not need, and a lot more damage still upon truck number 1. Both drivers will continue, albeit damaged and off the pace, as Vigo leads to the restart once more on lap number 25. At the conclusion of this lap, we will be halfway to the checkered flag, and Jason Miller checks up on the entry into turn number 3 and loses most of the momentum that he entered that corner with. That's going to give the opportunity to Wilson Timothy and a number of other drivers as well to make a challenge for the second spot. Timothy's not able to pull up alongside the 40 truck, but Andy Piper, just behind them, is going to go through the middle of Ron Anderson and Daryl Quick to make it 3 wide. Contact between Quick and Piper off the corner, but they keep it together. That was a bold maneuver from the 13 truck, showing no fear in his efforts to get himself to the front of the field. The move hasn't worked out for him, though, in terms of netting any track position gains, and in fact has allowed Matt Jacobs to take over the 4th position. Jacobs, the young yet accomplished racer from Kansas, has been running some races in the National Dirt Trucks earlier this season. They won the race at Mansfield Motorsports Park in Ohio, and appear to have a knack for pavement racing as well, as they are running up in the top 5 here and fending off Daryl Quick, the 3-time former series champion, who tried to get around Jacobs with a big head of steam through 3 and 4 the previous lap, but Jacobs holding on strong. They are in hot pursuit of the 3 leaders just ahead of them, who have remained largely unchanged in terms of their running order for most of the race up to this point, but Jason Miller wants to change that, going to the inside of Danny Vigo down the front stretch in a move for the lead. He got a good run off of turn 4 and tried to take that momentum down low, but it stalled out as soon as he pulled out of line, and struggling on the inside line, having to check up a bit through turn 1 again. If he keeps doing that, he's going to have to hope that he doesn't lose any positions in the process. But down the back straightaway, Matt Jacobs right behind him gets turned to the inside, careens back up on the track in turn 3, and takes several trucks hard into the wall. Piper and Daryl Quick are turning over, and with more traffic on the way. An enormous crash has broken out in turn 3 on the 28th lap of the race and taken many cars out of the running, and spectacularly so, if I do say so myself. We have a number of trucks limping and pouring smoke and oil all around the racetrack, and many more sitting parked on the inside of turn 4. This all started in the lead pack coming down the back straightaway when Andy Piper and Matt Jacobs got together, and once Jacobs got turned down low, it was already too late. They had no chance of slowing down in time, and that was a horrible impact into the wall for Ron Anderson as it was, and it's not over for him. Legend Hart crashes head-on into the 333 in a heavy front-end impact. That was a nasty series of collisions for Anderson the whole way through that accident. Same for Legend Hart. Hart came flying in at a bit of a faster clip than I think he really should have, and look at the wild ride that Robert Embry got sent for. The 44 truck turning over spectacularly. Pedro Menarez gets tipped onto his roof as well. Flip Papadopoulos nearly got by this, down on the apron trying to escape the carnage, but got clipped by the 77 and spun up into the outside wall. Gets hit a couple more times. There were a couple trucks who were lagging behind this. There's Danny Richards Jr., who also got caught up in this. And this was going to be a big crash no matter what by the time that the 47 got turned right here. But it just got so much worse than it already was when the second pack came flying in here at full speed and hardly made an effort to slow down until they were already right on top of the accident. That was, I suppose you could call this a byproduct of putting so many inexperienced short track racers on a big speedway where you could argue they don't belong, but it's not like nobody tells you in the driver's meeting to slow down when you see trouble ahead. Whatever the case, this has resulted in a heavy toll on the car count. Here we are looking at Danny Vigo leading the field under caution. You may notice that there are only 8 trucks behind him in this frame. 3 of these 9 trucks were in front of the accident. 2 of them were on the other side of the track. 2 of them were caught up in it. Gale and the 4 truck of Kevin Fitzroy were. And these 2 right here in the middle, Tiffany Rogers and Max Resner, they are the only trucks within vicinity of the accident who missed it. And that is the entirety of the running order, taking the green flag for the restart with 19 laps to go. Everyone else is out of the race. That accident wiped out 16 cars. By far the largest wreck in series history, but everyone who's still left still has a victory to go for, and that includes the 3 dominant trucks of the day, Danny Vigo, Jason Miller, and Wilson Timothy, all of whom get right back to work after the restart. Miller made a move to the inside of Vigo again on the inside of turn 3, but had to back out of it once more. That 40 truck evidently cannot handle down on the bottom or underneath other trucks, and this time he's finally going to lose the second position as Timothy sweeps around the outside, and as a matter of fact, Tiffany Rogers follows Timothy through and into 3rd place. I'm not sure we've even had the chance to mention Rogers so far today. The young racer from Indiana, much like Jason Miller trying to take that spot back from her, comes from the Terre Haute Action Track, but her best finish in this series after a few years of competition is 7th. She doesn't even have a top 5 to her name, and here she is fighting for a podium. Just behind them, Max Resner, Kevin Fitzroy, and Darren Gale attempt to keep up with the main pack. Resner's the only one of those 3 without damage, of course, and Roland Waters and Sarah Morsaw are way behind the rest of the field, but still guaranteed a top 10 finish for their troubles. As we look from the onboard camera of your leader, Danny Vigo, and we can see that he has opened up a pretty sizable lead now over Wilson Timothy behind him. Vigo has, of course, not faced much of a challenge from anyone ever since he took the lead at the end of lap 3, but we haven't seen him able to drive away from the field like this, and that might be very bad news for both Timothy and Miller, who no longer have the benefit of a draft pack to help keep up, and they nearly wreck each other in turn 1. Miller almost put Wilson Timothy up in the wall. He at least shoved him out of the groove, coming into that corner with a lot more speed than he had the grip to handle. Again, that 40 truck cannot handle for the life of it, it seems, on the inside lane. Luckily, neither driver is going to hit the wall or each other apart from that little shove, but they're going to lose even more ground on the 8 truck as a result. The move technically worked for Miller and got him up into 2nd place, but not for long, as Timothy comes at him with a big run through turns 3 and 4, and he's not going to use it. He's most certainly not going to use it to help the 40 truck. He's trying to get that 2nd spot back for himself. These 2 only letting Vigo pull further ahead in the process, but at least they no longer have the 78 of Tiffany Rogers to worry about. She's fallen too far behind, and they push each other in the wall this time! And this one they're not going to get away with. They both go around off the corner and bring out the 5th caution of the day. 2 of your 5 undamaged trucks have just gotten together and put each other in the wall off the corner while fighting for 2nd place. Trucks number 40 and 61 have been the only ones all day long that have even been able to keep up with Danny Vigo, and that's just going to make his job that much easier as he takes the restart from the lead yet again, this time with 7 laps to go. Tiffany Rogers and Max Resner having career days, now running in 2nd and 3rd for the restart, and Resner wants more. This young man has never before raced in the Voltson Super Trucks and is looking to score his first podium in his very first appearance, trying to get 2nd place away from Tiffany Rogers with what was a pretty good move to the inside of turn 3, and he carried the speed he needed to all the way through the inside of the corner. He hasn't quite cleared Rogers yet though into turn 1, and there goes the 78 flying around the outside and taking that spot right back with authority. Resner now under fire from the rest of the remaining trucks who are on pace, or at least relatively on pace. Both Timothy and Miller are trying to clear this group of trucks and get back in the fight for the win as quickly as they can, and Miller's forcing it through the middle to make it 4 wide in the process. We barely have enough trucks left in the race to go 4 wide racing, but we're doing it anyway, and it's going to work wonders for Miller. The 40 truck gets by 3 competitors at once in what was a pretty impressive maneuver on his part, and on the part of every spotter involved. It's not going to work out so well for Wilson Timothy or Max Resner, however, as they lose a lot of ground, including Resner, who was just fighting for 2nd moments ago. Miller's not done yet either, catching up to Tiffany Rogers in moments time and sweeping around the 78 with relative ease. Miller appears to still have most of the speed that he had in that truck before it suffered a little bit of damage in that crash, but he is running out of time fast to catch up to Danny Vigo, who has already opened up a huge lead by the time that Miller returns to the 2nd position. And as Vigo comes around to take the white flag, he has only extended that lead even further still. Danny Vigo has absolutely been the class of the field here today, but this speed has not come easy to him. He took a big leap of faith in 2017 when he left Operation JM, the team where he won his first 3 career races with, to start his own family-led operation. It's been a long and arduous journey, but today it's finally going to pay off with a big victory at the Michigan International Speedway. Danny Vigo wins the Irish Hills 100 to kick off the AST Voltson Super Trucks season. Congratulations to Danny Vigo and everyone on his family team. This victory, I'm sure, will be the sweetest of his career thus far. It's his 4th in total and 1st since 2015. Jason Miller comes home with the 2nd place result after having run in that position for most of the day. It may not be the victory, but it is a very strong way to kick off Miller's first full season championship run in this series since 2017. Tiffany Rogers rounds out the podium for the first of her Voltson Super Trucks career. An incredible run by Rogers in the legendary motorsports truck. And how about this? All 3 of your drivers on the podium today are racers from the Terre Haute Action Track. An incredible sweep achieved by all 3 of these Hoosiers here on Memorial Day weekend. Kevin Fitzroy and Darren Gale had never started a race in the Super Trucks prior to today, and they both bring it home in the top 5. Wilson Timothy finishes 6th after spending most of the day up in the top 3. That's not the result I'm sure he was hoping for with the speed that truck had all day, but it's still a strong result to kick off the season. Max Resner, another debutant racer, finishes in 7th. Same for Roland Waters. He is in 8th, in spite of being nearly a lap down by the finish and about 5 seconds off the pace. Same applies to Sarah Morsaw, who kicks off her rookie season with a 9th, and Caitlin Holt kicks off her Super Trucks career with a top 10 finish, despite having not finished the race. And that concludes our coverage of the 2021 running of the Irish Hills 100. We hope you enjoyed the race, and we hope to see you again in a few weeks' time for the 2nd event on the AST Voltson Super Trucks schedule at the Flat Rock Speedway in Flat Rock, Michigan. And you can catch the highlight coverage of the action right here on Enrichment TV 2.